And maybe at the end, if there's time, which I tend to be a little long-winded, maybe we can get a few questions in, but maybe not. We'll see. Let's go to Matthew chapter 5. Matthew chapter 5 and verse number 6. My topic tonight is a passion for the divine. A passion for the divine. Matthew chapter 5 and verse 6 says, "Blessed are they which do hunger and thirst after righteousness, for they shall be filled." Blessed are they which do hunger and thirst after righteousness, for they shall be filled. Now, if you go through this whole section of blessings on those that are in this or that category, you'll see that every one of these things is something in which there is a divine element and a human element. Blessed are they which do hunger and thirst after righteousness. We have a role, a responsibility to develop and to cultivate that thirst for God in our own souls. But equally, these are, you could say, a fruit of the Spirit. And you go through one after the other of these things, and I think in every one you can see some element of divine work and some element of human responsibility. And so you and I are challenged here in this verse that we will be blessed if we have a hunger and a thirst after righteousness. And I'm going to adjust that and say a hunger and a thirst after God. Because where do we get righteousness from? Christ, who is our righteousness. And so a hunger and a thirst for God. Every believer needs a continual thirst for the divine. Every believer needs this. As I reach a new person with, let me change that, as I reach a new convert with the gospel and they believe on the Lord Jesus Christ, and I need to pray them through, my prayer request is often as simple as this verse. Lord, give them a hunger and a thirst after righteousness. Because that person is in a critical decision point at that moment. They could continue on with us because they like what they found and they desire more. That would be that hunger for it. They desire more. They have a drive to get more of the truth, more of the presence of Jesus. Or they could say, wow, that was a nice experience and I'm glad to have that assurance, and yet I want to continue on with my life. And they don't have that ongoing search for the divine, ongoing search for the presence of God. And what happens to them? They just begin to fade away. Maybe they come one or two times and then disappear, never come again. Or it manifests itself in a variety of ways, but there's a trickle off until they disappear and I lose contact with them, usually altogether. Why? And I believe it is simply that they do not have that hunger and thirst after righteousness. But it's not only for new converts. If you've been saved for one day, or if you've been saved for 75 years, you need to cultivate a thirst for the divine. This verse says that we will be happy if we are in this condition. Why will we be happy? Because the person who is hungry and thirsty for God will be filled. See, this verse actually has a promise. When you search for and you have that drive and passion to know God, you will be satisfied. You will be filled. Go to Psalm 63. Psalm 63, verses 1 and 2. The preamble of this psalm also is important. I'll start with that. Psalm 63 says it is a psalm of David when he was in the wilderness of Judah. Now let's pause and think of that for a minute before we get into the two verses. When was David in the wilderness of Judah? A couple different times. One was fleeing from Absalom, but we have a psalm specifically stating that it was from that period of time when he fled from Absalom. And so the other time that he was in the wilderness of Judah was in his fleeing from King Saul. And that was obviously in and out. He would come back once in a while, think it was safe, and then have to flee again. But he's spending more and more time in the remote hidden places of the mountains and wilderness. And so that's where he's at. He's being chased. He's on the run from the king. Why? Simply because God chose him to be the next king. But let's read the next two verses. He says, "O God, thou art my God. Early will I seek thee. My soul thirsteth for thee. My flesh longeth for thee in a dry and thirsty land where no water is, to see thy power and thy glory, so as I have seen thee in the sanctuary. David says, I'm thirsty. God, I'm seeking for you. I long to know you. And then he says something interesting. He says, I want to know you the same way I've known you before. The times when I was in your sanctuary. Sanctuary is a set-apart place, a place that's dedicated to seeking God. And in those days of David, that was the tabernacle. But when he's on the run, can he go every Sabbath day to the tabernacle to worship and to seek the presence of God? If he begins to pattern himself in any way like that, Saul's spies will identify it, and they will lie in wait, and they'll get him. And so he is, in a sense, not officially, but unofficially banned from worshiping God in the special place of worship. And that, as it went on week after week, created a deeper and deeper longing in the soul of David for God's presence. And he looked around him, and he saw this barren and empty land of southern Judea. And he said, it's just like this land, a dry and thirsty land. There's no water here. And that's the way my soul is. My soul is drying down, and there's no water. There's no sanctuary. There's no place of worship and fellowship and place to revive my soul. And I'm getting thirstier and thirstier. I'm getting a deeper and deeper longing for God. It was so much so that actually in 1 Samuel 26, verse 19, David and Saul are talking to each other from a distance. In 1 Samuel 26, 19, it says, and I'm going to jump to the end of the verse. David says, for they have driven me out this day from abiding in the inheritance of the Lord, saying, go, serve other gods. Go serve other gods. Who had told David, go and serve another god? Officially, no one. Saul was not out there saying, look, I don't want you to worship Jehovah. I want you to go and worship Baal. I want you to go and worship whatever the other false gods of the day might be. That was not what was being said. But what is David explaining here? He's saying, because you have chased me away from the tabernacle, you have essentially said to me, go and worship other gods. Why? Because every single person in this room, every single person in the world, we have an innate drive for something for our soul and our spirit. We have a drive for something, a satisfaction in our soul, a satisfaction in our spirit, and then we have to find what can fulfill this. And I'll get back to what we try to fill that with in a little bit. And I'll get back to the reality that we all have that drive. But I just want you to see that here in David's life. He had a deep longing. And he said, the thing that will fill it is God. But the thing I'm tempted to fill it with is something false, something empty, something worthless, something that is ultimately a lie, and he calls it a false god. So that is our option. Will we seek God, or will we seek an alternative form of satisfaction? Go to Isaiah now, Isaiah 55, and again verses 1 and 2. I'm not going deeply into any one of these texts to fully explain these passages, but we're seeing the theme here of a thirst for the divine. Isaiah 55:1, Ho, everyone that thirsteth, come ye to the waters, and he that hath no money, come ye, buy and eat. Yea, come, buy wine and milk without money and without price. Now, quite an offer that is, isn't it? Verse number 2, Wherefore do you spend money for that which is not bread, and your labor for that which satisfieth not? Hearken diligently unto me, and eat ye that which is good, and let your soul delight itself in fatness. Here in these verses we see that there is no cost for real, true satisfaction. When I say no cost, I mean no money. No monetary cost for true satisfaction. There's a cost on God's part. There's a cost on us pursuing God, pursuing that satisfaction. But in the sense of, I have to pay something, no. The poorest person among us, the poorest person in a third world country of Africa, they can come freely and take that which satisfies the soul. It's available at no cost. And then he says, but you all run off to find something else that will satisfy, and it's not free. You have to go and pay. And in the end, it does not satisfy. Why? Why do you go out for that which does not satisfy? And so he challenges them this way. Every person, sorry, I'm in the wrong place in my notes. Every person has the availability for that which will satisfy his thirst. But so many do not even notice that thirst. They've already filled it with something else. Many do not thirst because they are filling up with the thirst quenchers of our world. Now, when I say thirst quencher, maybe you think of Gatorade or some other sports drink like that. Those things may have some merit, but I'm not speaking of those. I'm speaking of the empty, worthless things, all right? Pastor and I were talking about Coca-Cola earlier today and Pepsi and all those. Those things, in the sense of hydrating you and truly satisfying your thirst, they're worthless. They might fill your belly and quench the dryness of your throat, but do they hydrate you? No, not really. It tastes good, feels wet, but with the carbonation and sugar, it actually dehydrates you. Let's take the food realm, right? You're on the way home from the grocery store, and you don't realize that the kid reached over behind the seat and grabbed a bag of marshmallows. And a kid, do they have any limits? Do they have any controls? No. And one after another, they're looking up front, and you're not looking in the rearview mirror, and down they go. Until that child's finished that bag, the child is full, and you get home and say, I've made your favorite food. Mommy, I don't feel good. What happened? It was something that tasted good. They had a drive and an excitement to have it, but it didn't really fill them properly. It left them feeling sick. It left them feeling heavy. Instead, what is the opposite? I'm comparing it then in the food realm to a good home-cooked meal, meat and potatoes kind of meal, or a casserole sort of meal, something that will fill you up and will nourish you. That's what we're seeing here. You have the option to go and take that which satisfies, which will nourish you free of charge. Or you can go and pay for something that looks and tastes and smells good, but will leave you unsatisfied. People are filling themselves up today with thirst quenchers, mind-numbing activities. And we have our phones and our computers, and we have the endless scrolling of social media and of news sources. And we tend to numb our minds with that endless scrolling. And by the way, it is a mind-numbing thing. My mind must be numb right now. Amusements, okay, the very word itself is built off of the reality of not thinking. Amusement, so no thinking. You have an activity that is to shut down and stop thinking. Movies, television, and video games, and so many of these other things. They are the time when you shut off the brain and you veg. These are mind-numbing activities. Of course, substance abuse would be right up there with all that, the smoking, the drinking, the drugs. Those are things that people are seeking a numbing of the mind, a numbing of the conscience to escape. Then also there's pleasures. Pleasures, so many things. And here I'm going to get into things that are not wrong per se. Some of them would be directly sin at every time. But many of these things are not even wrong per se, but when we pursue that and we try to find our satisfaction in that activity, in that pleasure, we are going to come up empty. It could be something such as sports, whether your sport is basketball or your sport is hunting or fishing. When you make that your drive and your passion, and you have a passion for that thing rather than a passion for the divine, you're going to come up empty and unsatisfied. When you fail the championship, when you fail to make the team, when you miss the shot on the buck of the lifetime, you're going to find yourself discouraged, upset, and empty. Why? Because pleasures are not the point of satisfaction. Relationships, that guy-girl relationship drive that we all have, we think it will satisfy, and so many pursue it to only find out that it leaves us empty, dry, disappointed, and guilty. No, relationship will not satisfy you. We try to find pleasure in vacations. The latest cruise, that destination we've always wanted. We go and blow all of our savings on a trip to Disneyland or whatever it might be. We're seeking what? We're seeking some kind of satisfaction and in pleasure. Riches. People spend all their day working day after day to do what? To get more riches. What do they want with that? Perhaps comfort, perhaps security, but in the end, they find themselves empty. I'm not saying that pleasure is wrong. God himself said in Psalm 16, verse 11, "Thou wilt show me the path of life. In thy presence is fullness of joy. At thy right hand are what? Pleasures forevermore. God has designed us to enjoy pleasure, but he wants to give it to us in a wholesome, spiritual way that will not leave us empty, that will last and endure, he literally says, forevermore. 1 Timothy 6:17, I'm going to cut some of the verse, but it says that we should trust in the living God who hath given us all things richly to enjoy. You hear that? He's given us these things to enjoy. It's not wrong to go out and enjoy that pleasure, but if that is what your pursuit is and you're looking for satisfaction and fulfillment there, you are going to find yourself coming up empty. Whereas a thirst for God will give you a satisfying quenching of that drive, and you'll find yourself at peace. A thirst of God will motivate you to pray. A thirst for God will motivate you to study the Word. All these things. Why does it motivate us to do these things? Because in those things, we taste the divine. We touch God and we find satisfaction. A thirst for God will motivate us to confess. A search for God will motivate us to meditation on the Word of God. Not just, I did my reading today, or I memorized my verse, and now I just forget it until I have to give it to my teacher next week. No, meditating, thinking on it, going through it. A thirst for God will cause you to separate from the worldliness, the temptations of the flesh. A thirst for God will cause you to assemble with the believers at church. Why? Because here we get encouragement in the Word. Here we get to worship God together. Here we get to fellowship together. And we're encouraging our souls. We are touching the divine. So how? How do you find God? Those things I just said are what this thirst will drive us to do, and they will help us. But I want to give you the simplicity of it. I got 5 different things or ways that we can illustrate this, but these all mesh and overlap into one pursuit of God. First of all, let's go to Psalm 34, verse 8. Psalm 34, verse 8. Where he gives us a simple invitation, "O taste and see that the Lord is good. Blessed is the man that trusteth in him." Pastor Glenn, I just don't know how to really know God. It's vague and it's hard to grasp. It's an abstract thing. How do I know him? Just go and try. Just give him a try. Give him a taste. And you'll discover that he is good. That he is good and that you will be blessed as you trust in him. My little daughter, my 13-month-old, Tirza, she's very funny in her mannerisms sometimes. So many of those we're having to work out of her because they're very much coming from the sinful nature. But sometimes she has in her mind she wants this item on the table. We have something else we know she's going to enjoy. But she doesn't recognize it. Maybe she's never had it before. And we take it on that spoon and go towards her mouth with it. And when she sees it still there, she's resisting. And sometimes, I don't, you've probably all done this as parents too. I'm holding the head. Maybe holding the head with one hand. I'm holding the hands down with the other. And my wife has got the spoon. That thing gets in there and she tastes it. The eyes open. The attitude changes. She's like, where's the next bite? I like that after all, Mommy and Daddy. Oh, taste and see that the Lord is good. You know, many of us do not have that thirst and pursuit of God because we never open our souls and say, God, I want to taste. I want to know who you are. I want to test you and see how good you are. Going down in the psalm, we're at verse 8, go down to verse 10. The young lions do lack and suffer hunger, therefore they're hungering and thirsting, right? But they that seek the Lord shall not want any good thing. The second point, and it's so close to taste, is seek. Seek him. Go and look for him. Go and find him. Someone says, I just don't have a relationship with God. Well, have you pursued him? Have you taken quiet time to shut out the distractions, to leave the phone away from you where you can't be distracted, to get quiet and alone? Well, yeah, I tried that once. But you didn't meet God? No. Well, how long did you spend? Well, about 13 minutes. Right? Okay. No, take time and seek him. Seeking has the idea of you're going all out. You're going to find that thing. You need it. There's a desperation involved here. Seek him. Verse 14, depart from evil and do good, seek peace and pursue it. There we're having an illustration. It does not directly say seek God, but rather seek peace. But then he says pursue it. Put into pursuit, give chase to God. Seek him. Go find him. A step farther, let's go to Matthew 7. Or really not a step farther, but another illustration. Matthew 7, verse 7 and 8. And here again we have seek, ask, and it shall be given unto you. Seek, and ye shall find. Knock, and it shall be opened unto you. For everyone that asketh receiveth, and he that seeketh findeth, and to him that knocketh it shall be opened. Do those sound like possibilities or improbabilities to you? No, they are literally promises. You seek, you will find. Everyone that seeks him does find him. Do not give up. It also has the word ask here. Ask, and it shall be given to you. Just go and talk to God and say, God, this feels strange to me. I don't really understand, but would you give me that desire for you? Would you give me a taste of your goodness? Just ask. Because everyone that asks receives. And you can begin to delve into this glorious reality of experiencing the divine. Go to James chapter 4. And here we will round up as far as texts. James chapter 4, verses 2 and 3 says, Ye lust and have not, ye kill and desire to have and cannot obtain. Ye fight and war, yet ye have not. Why? You don't ask. Ye ask not. Verse 3, ye ask and receive not, because ye ask amiss, that it may be consumed upon your lusts. So there's times when we do ask God, but we don't get it, because we're just coming for a selfish reason. In other words, we're not really sincere. We want to look good to those around us. We want to try to meet up to the standard of the other members of the church, but we're not really seeking God himself. It's something else that's causing us to go and ask. Well, you're not going to get it that way. You're going to get it when you truly, genuinely, passionately want it. I have some other things. Go down in this chapter later. You'll see more. You'll see humility. You'll see repentance. And then you'll see simply drawing near to God. Let me take that one. Which verse? Verse 8, draw nigh to God, and he will draw nigh to you. In other words, I feel like I am a long ways from God. I'm here. God's over there. God says, draw nigh. Come a little closer. And what's God going to do? He's going to be on this side. Is he going to be like, okay, I'll come a little bit? Is that how he works? And he says, draw nigh to God and he will draw nigh to you. God is coming. He has more interest in this relationship than us. He created us in his image. He created us to know him. He's going to come. He's not going to waste time. Going down to verse 10, humble yourselves in the sight of the Lord and he shall lift you up. This is as you're drawing near to him. You're honest and humble and say, God, I am unworthy. God, I've failed. But you are what my soul needs. What's God going to do to you at that time? Is he just going to get to you and say, okay, good, now we're close to each other. That's great, my son. No, he says he will lift you up. He's going to take you up. My daughter was sleeping downstairs this afternoon, and the 13-month-old, and she woke up and she was just all in a stir. She could not find comfort. She could not settle down. She couldn't be content unless mommy or daddy were holding her. So she got down off the bed, she toddled over to me, and the arms are out, right? What does she want? She wants me to pick her up. Well, I was trying to prepare for this message, so I pick her up and set her down beside me. She's thrashing and stirring and all upset and bothered. Why? Well, it wasn't quite what she wanted. She wanted me. She didn't want to just be in a new position, perhaps a comfortable position. And finally I got it. After it had been quite a while and she'd been disturbing Mama who was trying to sleep and up and down and fussing and all this stuff, she came over to me again just that same way and I realized she just wants me. And I picked her up and held her, walked around with her for 5 minutes. Everything was good. Seek God, draw nigh to him. He's going to draw nigh to you and he's going to pick you up. In other words, he still wants to be closer yet. There's no limit to the closeness that God has. Look at Enoch. He walked with God and then he was not. Why? Because God translated him. Got so close that God said, I can't get any closer to you unless you come up and be with me. So just come on up. Come on up. If you pursue God, there is no limit to how close you can get to him. Perhaps it'll reach the point you'll say, just come on home. It's better with you and me being close here in heaven. Death's not a terrible thing at that point. Precious in the sight of the Lord is the death of his saints at that point. He loves us so much. Seek God. You'll find him. You'll find that he is good. He wants every one of you. And it's the greatest pursuit of your life. Blessed is the man that hungers and thirsts, because you will be filled. Let's pray. Father, I thank you.